So thanks for watching. I'm going to start doing a new deal where I just take my time and explain these concepts, put them on YouTube. And if you're there, thank you for watching. So let's talk about the sigmoid curve. You know, this is an idea or concept. This is just reality that any entity's growth isn't sustainable. And there's a point in this graph where it's extremely steep. And the reason why that's extremely valuable is that this is time and this is total production. So we really get lost in total production in agriculture because we're so rewarded for total production and there's not much true risk there. But in reality, if we didn't have that, we'd be more interested in this spot in the curve right here where we get the most for the inputs that we're in. But the next layer is not maximizing that one thing, maximizing two things or three things or four things or five things. And this is why I love stock cropper. It's cognizant of the inflection point, it's cognizant of multiple sigmoid curves aggregate value, and it's cognizant of utilizing natural systems, and it's very attractive when we start marketing the end product. You know, when you look at it, all these bins are most likely they're going to go into ethanol, which is going to be under fire now with high prices, or livestock. The livestock go to a big packing plant. If we could just walk off higher valued animals off the farm, creating closed loop systems, that is a beautiful thing. So I'll go back a little bit in the relay cropping scenario. When I started 5 years ago, we were putting wheat and soybeans out there. And the reason why I was intrigued by that is two sigmoid curves. So you get value for photosynthesis and the moisture and the soil profile early in the season and get that growth in April and May, and then start a new entity. And eventually that's going to turn into nursing home stage, and then you'll have an adolescent right next to it. Now the old way, and I get a lot of pushback, is, hey, I can raise, 100, 120 bushel wheat, but this spot right here, this 40 days where it's dead and waiting on whatever next, is a total waste. We call this the suck zone. If this is the year, it's awesome that you can beat this entity, but what about this, buddy? That's the suck zone where multiple entities, you never have that slow point in the curve. Hey buddy, can you keep that slow or low? Or leave the other room? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So let's break down stock cropping and basically the valuation here of it. So instead of having this solid field of corn where every plant only captures the light up top, we take rows of corn out of the equation. So your lever is this side where all the leaves can collect sunlight. Now, if I were to put soybeans here, I would definitely get an increase in my corn yields. The problem is corn, there's usually a ratio 1 to 2.6, and right now it's like 1 to 2.9 or 1 to 3. So if your inflection on the soybeans is 5 or 6% and it's a 3 to 1 ratio, we're not gaining much. And that's really what Lance Peterson was thinking of when he was drinking some whiskey in the hinterlands. I hope I got that right, Zach. Is how can we exploit this in the time and space? And the answer is give this corn plenty of space and get rid of another cash crop. Get the animals out there with something that you can actually market. Now, it doesn't matter if we have annuals here, annuals in a cover crop, but I think where we're headed here is perennials. By using sheep, chickens, cows, pigs, an animal, we can basically graze the perennial. And now this curve basically is steep. We use the animals to graze it, but if we keep grazing it down to the ground, then we got to start the slow growth. But if we have the discipline to move it quickly, then we stop it right here more in this rapid growth. And we can do this more instead of this. And this is where all of your productivity is being cognizant of what the suck zone is, of getting too greedy. And that's what's beautiful about this. If we're greedy, we're wider. we don't have as much leverage in the center. If we can make this tighter and have more animals and more movement and more diversity, then we create this wavelength of sigmoid curves and the productivity starts going through the roof. But all that photosynthesis and feeding the microbiology down low creates more and more and more productive of soil. So you look at people like Gabe Brown that's done similar things for years and years and years, and they've made topsoil. It's beautiful. So extremely intrigued there. And I'm going to quit selling, why you should relay crop and stuff like that because it's niche. But listen, folks, you got to start looking at our resources as the value instead of the crop in itself. If wheat's $6, beans are $12, 120 and 20 gets its ass kicked handily by 40, 80. And when we start looking at entities back on the curve, then the reason why I make this little bump here on the soybeans is we can turn something like water. We can either swallow it all whole and be this drunk piece of shit, or we can drink a couple beers and dance like a fucking stud. It's seriously a lot of things you've got to study the inflection point. So this relationship between multiple entities has multiple factors that can go either way, but until you do it multiple ways, you're not going to get a feeling for that. So it's a different mindset, and I'll leave it at that. My mind space is really in this concept right here. If you're familiar in my YouTube channel, look back at what we did on our organic farm. We had our sheep tractors and chicken tractors. We had popcorn that we're now selling by the ear. Chickens we sold by the chicken. And I think this is something that can really, really, really do some interesting things for food. So thank you. We'll see you.